Hey guys, thank you so much for joining me for another online yoga class. Today's class is going to be based off a modification of the Ashtanga half primary series. For anyone who practices with me, you know that this can be quite an intense, deep practice. We're going to be working with finding stillness today and using drishtis, or focus points, breath and bandha to help us find stable and grounded foundations within the posture. So because we're going to be finding stillness, just worth noting that I haven't included any vinyasas whatsoever, any sun salutations or breath to movement between the postures. So if you wanted to include those yourself, you can, but this is a wonderful opportunity if you're new to the Ashtanga primary series and you wanted to give it a go, or if you're suffering from joint issues and you know that quick movements are not really suitable for your practice today. It's also worth noting that you may want to bring some props, blocks, straps, cushions and things like that if you wanted to modify the postures in any way. The other thing is that I will always be cueing the most advanced level of the posture first. So if you feel that this is not good for you today, make sure you wait and listen for the modification or the variation. I really hope you're enjoying these videos. I hope you feel stable and balanced after your practice this morning. Thank you so much for joining me. Namaste.
Okay, so we're just going to start by coming into a Samasithi mountain pose. Draw the big toes together, have the heels slightly apart. If you don't feel stable here, you can bring your feet more to hips distance apart with the flat edges of the feet parallel with the flat edges of the mat. Gently draw up through the quadriceps, lifting the knees. Draw the tailbone down towards the heels and keep that low belly drawn in. Keep the shoulders up and away from the ears and keep the palms facing slightly forward with the chin parallel with the floor. This is our Samasithi, this is our mountain pose. You can keep Mula Bandha, your pelvic floor or your root lock lifted to about 60% of your capacity, and Uddiyana Bandha, high flying lock, your belly button drawing back and up towards the rib cage to about 40% of the capacity. This will help keep you strong. It will help bring awareness to your pelvis, which is your center of gravity, bringing the awareness to the psoas muscles, the hip flexors, which are going to be the root of staying strong and stable through the poses and staying light and lifted. If you forget, don't worry about it too much. So we're going to just come into our Samasithi, bring the palms together at the heart center, connect to your Ujjayi pranayama, breathing in and out through the nose, maintaining that low belly drawing in, so breathing deep into the rib cage, expanding outwards and upwards, drawing into the collarbone. And we'll just take about 10 deep breaths here while I take the traditional Ashtanga opening chant. Vande Guru Nam Charanaravinday Sandarashita Swatma Sukhava Bodhe Nishayase Jangalika Yamane Samsara Hala Hala Mohashantye Abahu Purushakaram Shankachakrasi Dorinam Sahasra Shirsam Shvetam Pranamami Patanjalim. Om. Take one more deep breath in through the nose. Exhale, let it go. Softly open the eyes. Namaste. Okay, so as we're going to be doing a Ashtanga primary series modification or variation of that, we are going to be taking a little bit of a warm-up, but usually what we would do is we would take 5 rounds of Surya Namaskara A and 5 rounds of B. So instead of taking these sun salutations, we still need to make sure we warm up all the muscle groups and the joint groups. So what we're going to do is we're going to come into a ragdoll position and then step back to a downward facing dog or a child's pose, depending on what feels best for you, and tune into how you're feeling within the shoulders and the hamstrings as well, a little bit, opening up through the tops of the hips. Okay, so if you weren't already, just coming to the front of the mat, bring the feet to hips distance apart, keep a soft bend in the knees. Bring the hands to the waist. As we inhale, we lengthen the spine, lift the chest and look up. As we exhale, keeping that bend in the knees as we hinge forward from the hips. Okay, you can take opposite hand to opposite elbow. Maybe bring the feet a little bit wider here as we begin to bend and straighten one knee at a time, rocking side to side. Try to stay rooted through your foundations, pressing through the toes, the balls of the feet and the heels, lifting through the medial arches of the feet, finding that Uddiyana, that upward flying energy through the feet, and finding that Mula energy as you ground down through the heels and the toes, pressing into the mat. Softly opening up through the backs of the legs, tuning into how you're feeling here. This is a common place where we build up tightness, so move gently. Working with any hamstring injuries, if you have any of those, make sure you modify as needed by either bending the knees more or by not coming down so far into your bend. Tuning in now to how you're feeling in the hips, especially if you have any SI joint pain, working with the sacroiliac joint. Remember to bring the movement into the hips as much as you need to, as to not cause strain on the lower back. And then working into the thoracic and the cervical spine, bringing movement into the rib cage, maybe into the head and the neck, as long as it feels comfortable. How are you feeling in the shoulders as you allow your arms to be heavy? If it feels good as well, you can always release the hands and just let the true weight of the arms draw the shoulders down. If you're working with tightness in the upper back, this may feel a little bit of a stretch here. And then when you're ready, we're going to bring the feet back to Samasithi, big toes touching, heels slightly apart. You can keep the fingertips on the floor with the knees bent, or if the legs can be straight, you can begin to press the palms into the floor. We're going to step back into Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. So planting through the palms of the hands, grounding down through the index finger and the thumb. Pressing through the fingertips, step both feet back, lifting those sit bones nice and high. You can keep the knees bent to start with. If this feels too much, especially if you're working with wrist or shoulder injuries, you can always drop to the knees and come into a child's pose instead. Otherwise, we're working with pressing down through the index finger and the thumb. So we're going to be inwardly rotating the forearms, the lower arms, below the elbow, and we're going to be outwardly rotating, externally rotating the upper arms. So drawing the triceps down towards the floor as the biceps lift up towards the ceiling, and then drawing the shoulder blades down the back. So away from the ears and around the rib cage towards the outer edges of the rib cage. And then from here, we're going to lift those sit bones nice and high. Keep the low belly drawn in to help protect the spine. If you're super flexible, you may find that your lower back has a tendency to overarch here by dropping the belly towards the floor. We want to prevent that from happening by drawing the low belly in. Stay nice and long through the spine and avoid rounding through the lower back. So sit bones nice and high. If you have space here, you can begin to pedal the heels towards the floor or press down through the heels. The feet should be about hips distance apart. And working with establishing the arches again by grounding down through the toes and the balls of the feet. If the heels are reaching the floor, then pressing into the heels to find that medial arch and that lift, that upwards energy. Take one more deep breath here. Inhale, look to the space between the hands. In as many steps as you need, we're going to come forward to a halfway lift. Again, you can keep the palms grounded on the floor or just coming onto the fingertips with the knees bent. As we exhale, the crown of the head releases down towards the floor. As we inhale, soft bend in the knees, keep the low belly drawn in, pelvic floor lifted as we come all the way up. Bring the arms up overhead. You can look up to the thumbs if it feels good on the neck. And exhale to release. Shoulders draw away from the ears. So that is our warm-up for the practice. If you feel like you still have a lot of tension that you need to wake up from the body, feel free to include some sun salutations or just take a slightly more gentle warm-up. Otherwise, we're moving into our standing sequence, Padanggustasana. So Ekam, as we inhale, bring the soles of the feet to hips distance apart. Hinge forward from the hips. Take the peace fingers around the big toes, lengthen the spine, lift the chest, look forward, keep the shoulders away from the ears. As we exhale, the crown of the head releases towards the floor. The elbows draw out to the side. 1. Keep the shoulders drawing down the back. 2, Nasagra Drishti, looking off the tip of the nose. 3, finding the foundations within the feet, grounding down through the balls of the feet and the heels. 4, steadying your breath, keeping Uddiyana Bandha, the low belly drawn in, pelvic floor lifted, Mula Bandha, breathing deep into the rib cage. And 5, Trini, inhale, head up, lengthen the arms, look forward. Padanggustasana, exhale here. Ekam, as we inhale, palms of the hands underneath soles of the feet, toes to wrist creases. Dwe, as we exhale, chin towards shin, again, Nasagra Drishti, 1, looking off the tip of the nose. If this is not accessible to you, if there's any pains in the wrists, make sure you just bring your hands towards the shins or the feet. 3, keeping a soft activations of the quadriceps to help release the hamstrings. 4, knees can be as bent as they need to be here. Shoulders draw down and away from the ears. 5, Trini, inhale, head up, look forward. Exhale, as we bring the hands to the waist, come all the way back up to standing, release back to your Samasithi, toes touching. Uttita Trikonasana, as we inhale, Ekam, step the feet about 3 feet apart, arms out to shoulder height. And then Dwe, as we exhale, right toes face the short edge of the mat as we hinge forward from the waist. Bring the right peace fingers around the right big toe, looking up towards the left thumb. Hastagra Drishti, 1. Steadying your breath, looking towards your gaze point. 2, if the thumb is not comfortable to look at, you can always look down, Padayogra Drishti, looking towards the toe. 3, grounding down through the outer edge of your left foot for a strong foundation. 4, soft activation of the right quadricep to help release the hamstring. And 5, Trini, inhale, look down to the toes, soft bend in the right knee to press up, right toes in, and then Chatwari over to the left. Remember to modify as needed. Looking up towards the right thumb. 1, I forgot to say it on the other side, but if the toe is not accessible, thigh, shin, floor or block is fine. 2, ultimately the shoulders will be stacked over each other. 3, working on drawing that right hip back in line with the left without putting strain on the knee. 4, keep the low belly drawn in, steadying your breath, inhales to match the exhales. And 5, Pancha, inhale, look down towards the left big toe, pressing up. And then moving into Parvita Trikonasana, Trikonasana B, Dwe. As we exhale, right toes face out, pinwheel the arms as we square off the hips. So bringing the left hand to the outer edge of the right foot, left hand up towards the ceiling. Right hand up towards the ceiling. 1, if the outer edge of the right foot is not accessible, thigh, shin or inside of the foot is also fine. 2, working with squaring the hips off to the short edge of the mat. If you need to bring that left foot forward to do so, feel free to do that. 3, planting down through the palm of the left hand. 4, looking up towards the thumb. And 5, Trini, inhale, soft bend to the right knee as we press all the way up, bring the right toes in. And then Chatwari, as we exhale, we come over to the left, right hand plants to the outside of the left foot, left hand up towards the ceiling. 1, drawing that left hip back in line with the right. 2, squaring off the hips to the short edge of the mat. 3, ultimately shoulders will be stacked over each other. 4, trying to keep the hips as level as you can by pressing the left femur into the hip joint. And 5, Pancha, inhale, soft bend in the knee as we press all the way up. And exhale, we step back, Samasithi to the front of the mat. Uttita Padanggustasana, extended side angle. Ekam, as we inhale, we step the right foot back again, this time about 5 feet wide, arms out to shoulder height. And then Dwe, as we exhale, right toes face the short edge of the mat, stack the right knee over the right ankle, right hand to the outside of the foot, bring the left arm alongside the ear, looking towards the fingertips. Hastagra Drishti, 1. Checking in that the right knee isn't going past the ankle. 2. Grounding down through the outer edge of the left foot. 3, pressing the knee into the back of the right arm. 4, drawing the sit bone back in towards, in line with the knee. And 5, Trini, inhale, look down, pressing through the foot to lift up. Bring the right toes in. Shatwari, exhale, over to the left. Steadying your breath. 1. You can always bring that left hand to the inside of the foot. 2, grounding down through the outer edge of the right foot. 3, strong through the back leg, reaching through to those fingertips. 4, keeping those bandhas nice and active, nice and stable in your core. And 5, pancha, inhale, look down to press up. And then as we exhale, we step forward, back to Samasithi at the front of the mat. Prasarita Padottanasana. Ekam, as we inhale, step about 5 feet wide again, bring the hands to the waist. Inhaling to look up, lengthen and lift the chest. And then Dway, as we exhale, hinge forward from the hips, bring the hands to the floor in line with the feet about shoulder distance apart. Again, inhaling, lengthening and looking forward. And then Trini, as we exhale, we fold, crown of the head releases towards the floor. 1, crown of the head may or may not reach the floor, just heading in that direction. 2, shifting the weight forward so there's a nice even distribution of weight in the feet. 3, hips ultimately will be over the heels so you feel a lightness in the heels. 4, using your hands or the top of your head as a foundation. Elbows draw in line with the shoulders. And 5, Shatwari, as we inhale, lengthen the arms, look forward, lift the chest. Exhale here. And then pancha, inhale, hands to the waist, come all the way back up to center. And exhale again. We're going to take B variation now. Ekam, inhale, arms out to shoulder height. Dway, as we exhale, bring the hands to the waist, fingertips towards the belly button. Again, inhale, keep the elbows drawn back behind you. And then Trini, as we exhale, we hinge forward from the hips, crown of the head reaches towards the floor. 1, slightly activating through the quadriceps to help release the hamstrings. 2, keep the fingertips drawing into the belly to help activate Uddiyana Bandha. 3, elbows draw back behind you, shoulders draw away from the ears. 4, again reaching with intention for the crown of the head to reach the floor. And 5, Shatwari, as we inhale, low belly draws in, neck in a neutral position as we come all the way up. And again, exhale, C variation. Ekam, inhale, arms out to shoulder height. Dway, as we exhale, interlace the fingers behind the back, palms draw together, shoulders draw away from the ears. And again, exhale. 3, inhale. And exhale, we fold. Crown of the head releases towards the floor. 1. Ultimately, shoulders come up and over the ears, so palms of the hands reaching towards the floor. 2. Even distribution of weight. It's a little bit more challenging here without the balance of the hands. 3. Soft activation of the quadriceps, helping to relieve the hamstrings, feeling a stretch in those inner thighs and maybe the glutes. 4, steady your breath, Nasagrai Drishti, looking off the tip of the nose. And 5, Shatwari, as we inhale, low belly draws in, come all the way up, slowly as you need to, and exhale. Ekam, inhale, hands to the waist, again lengthen the spine, lift the chest. Dway, as we exhale, halfway lift, as we fold forward, taking the peace fingers around the big toes, lengthen the spine and look forward. And then Shatwari, as we exhale, crown of the head releases towards the floor. So peace fingers around the big toes, drawing the elbows back towards the shins as the crown of the head releases down towards the floor, maybe makes contact, maybe not. 2, hips shifting forward to bring the weight into the heels. 4, pressing through the balls of the feet and the toes of the feet. And 5, Shatwari, inhale, head up, look forward and lengthen. Exhale, pancha, inhale, hands to the waist, come all the way back up to center. And as we exhale, release back to Samasithi towards the front of the mat. Pashimotanasana, side stretch pose. Ekam as we inhale, bring the palms into reverse prayer behind the back. Step the right foot about 3 feet to the side. Heel to heel alignment, back foot's at 45 degrees, or you can bring the foot a little bit wider. Dway as we exhale, hinge forward from the hips, bringing the chin towards the shin, looking towards the right big toe. 1. If it's not comfortable to bring the hands into reverse prayer, take opposite hand to opposite elbow. 2. Elbows draw back behind you, shoulders draw away from the ears. 3. Hips squaring off to the short edge of the mat as best you can by drawing that right hip back, left hip forward. 4. Steadying your breath, inhales to match the exhales, looking towards the big toe, Bandha and Dristi. And 5, Trini, inhale, soft bend in the right knee, keep the low belly drawn in as we press up. All one inhale as we switch the feet. Remember to adjust as needed. And Chaturanga as we exhale, fold forward over the left leg. Bandha and Dristi, looking towards the left big toe. 1. You can have a soft bend in the left knee if you need to. 2. Shoulders draw down away from the ears and the elbows draw back behind you. 3. Palms of the hands pressing in towards each other. 4. Breathing deep into the rib cage, expanding outwards and upwards. And 5. Pancha, inhale, soft bend in the knee, neutral position for the neck as we come up. Turn both feet to the side, open up the arms. And exhale, come back to Samasithi. Uttita Hasta Padanggustasana, extended hand to big toe pose. This is quite a tricky posture, working with balance. So if you need to find a wall, feel free to find a wall. Otherwise, start by bringing the left hand to the left waist, grounding down through the left foot. Arm out to in front of you, peace fingers ready. Ekam as we inhale, take a hold of the right big toe. Knee can be bent if you need to. And then Chaturanga as we exhale, we open the leg towards the right, Padma and Dristi looking towards the left. 1. So if the knee is bent, we're just working with gently pressing open through the thigh. 2. Hopefully feeling a stretch in that right glute. 3. Steady your focus on one point to the left hand side. 4. Shoulder draws down away from the ear, elbow back behind you. Right hip is stable in line with the left. And 5. Pancha, inhale, bring the leg to center. Shuts if you can as you exhale, chin to shin, looking towards the right big toe. Inhale, Sapta, come up. Release the foot but keep the leg lifted. 1. Elbows draw back behind you. 2. Feeling those psoas muscles and the hip flexors really working to keep that leg lifted. 3. Toes point, looking towards the right big toe. Left leg is strong. 4. And 5. Knee to center and release. Shake out the leg. Coming onto it on the left side. So right hand to the right waist. Ashtanga, take a hold of the left big toe. Ekadasha, opening out towards the left, Paraj Vidrishti to the right. 1. Right elbow draws back behind you. 2. Right shoulder draws down away from the ear. 3. Finding the arches of the right foot, standing leg is strong but not locked. 4. Steady your breath. And 5. Dwardasha, inhale to center. Trayodasha, chin to shin, looking towards the left big toe. Chaturanga, release the toe but keep the leg lifted. 1. Toes point. 2. Elbows draw back behind you. 3. Standing leg is strong but not locked. 4. Shaking is normal. And 5. To release. Shake out the legs as much as you need to. Urdhva Bada Padmasana, half-bound lotus standing forward fold. If you feel any pain in the knee or the ankle in this variation, please come into a different modification, which I'll show you as we go along. So Ekam, as we inhale, strong through the left leg, closing the right knee joint as we bring it in towards the chest, bringing the hip into an external rotation as we draw the knee down towards the floor and bring the knife edge of the foot towards the hip crease. You can stay here, taking a hold of the foot with the left hand, or you can reach behind your back, bringing your right fingertips towards the right big toe. And then Dway, as we exhale, we hinge forward from the hips, looking towards the left big toe, palm of the hand flat to the floor. Padangustasana Dristi, or looking off the tip of the nose, Nasagre Dristi. 1. Okay, so if you're feeling any pain in the knee or the ankle in this variation, you can just come into a tree variation by bringing the sole of the foot to the calf or the ankle, or the inner thigh, palms together at the heart center. 3. Whichever variation we're in, the standing leg should be strong but not locked. 4. Steadying your breath, make sure the movement is coming from the hip joint and not the knee joint or the ankle. And 5, if you are folded forward, Trini, inhale, head up, look up. Exhale, Shatwari, inhale, coming back up to standing. And Pancha, exhale wherever you are, knee to center first and then release. Next sides, Shats, inhale, taking the same variation or a different one. Try to make sure the movement comes from the hip joint. And then Sapta, as we exhale, we fold forward. 1. Standing leg is strong but not locked. 2. If you're in the half lotus variation, keep that low belly drawn in, creating space for the heel. 3. Ultimately, the knees will be facing down towards the floor if you're in lotus. 4. Trying to shift the weight forward so it's a balance in the foot. And 5. Ashtanga, inhale, head up, look forward. Exhale fully. Now inhale, come all the way back up. And exhale, release, back to Samasithi, moving into our seated sequence. So coming to the front of the mat if you're not already, we're not going to take a full vinyasa, we're just going to take a sun circle, and then we're just going to come back to downward facing dog. So inhale, arms up. Exhale fully as we fold forward from the hips. Inhale, head up, look up. And then as we exhale, we step back to downward facing dog. Re-establishing your foundations, reconnecting to your breath. And then we're going to come through to Danurasana and Pashimotanasana. So Sapta, as we inhale, you can either drop to the shins and come back to a seat, coming to a cross-legs position, or if you're working towards jumping through, grounding down through the hands, grounding down through the index finger and the thumb. Bend the knees, keep the bandhas nice and active. As we jump, keep the hips high. Extend the legs out in front, trying to keep them nice and lifted, working with the psoas muscles. Okay, Dandasana, toes flexed back towards you. Quadriceps nice and active as we bring the palms of the hands to the outside of the hips, grounding down through the palms, lifting through the chest, lifting through the crown of the head. Activating Jalandhara Bandha, tipping the chin towards the chest very slightly. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Ashtanga, as we inhale, take the peace fingers around the big toes, lengthen the spine, lift the chest and look forward. And then now as we exhale, we fold, bring the chin towards the shin, shoulders draw down the back, elbows draw out to the sides. 1. Padangustasana Dristi, looking towards the toes. 2. Quadriceps slightly active, pressing the backs of the knees in towards the floor. 3. Nice neutral position for the neck and the head. Try to avoid rounding, drawing the forehead down, but keep it nice and lifted. 4. Think belly to thighs, chest to knees and chin to shin. And 5, Dasha, inhale, head up, look forward. And exhale fully. Taking a different variation now with the hands. So you can either bring the palms of the hands to the tops of the feet, toes to wrist creases, or you can bring your hands to the outsides of the feet. Or if it's in your practice, interlace the index finger and thumb of one hand around the wrist of the other and bring it up and over the tops of the feet. Okay, so finding a variation that feels good to you. This is Ashtanga to inhale. And now, as we exhale, knees can be as bent as they need to be. 1. Staying nice and long through the spine. 2. Shoulders draw down the back and away from the ears. 3. Try to bring the awareness to those bandhas by keeping the hip flexors the key point of movement. 3. So you want to have a very slight bend in the lower back, but you really want to keep it out of the upper and middle back. 4. Really stretching the backs of the legs, allow the movement to come as we stretch from the hamstrings and move forward from the hip flexors. And 5, Dasha, inhale, head up, look forward. Exhale. Then Ekadasha, we come all the way back to seated. So traditionally between each seated posture, we would have a vinyasa. So you're more than welcome to include those, but obviously this is going to be a practice where we're finding stillness, so we're not going to include any of them as options. But you can include them yourself if you like. Okay, moving on to Urdhva Bada Padma Pashimotanasana. So we're going to come into a half-bound lotus seated forward fold. So I'll just face this way so you can probably see me a little bit better. What we're going to do is, as we Supta, inhale to prepare, draw the right knee in towards the chest, again like we did in the standing version, open from the hip joint as we bring the knee forward, the foot should come in towards the hip crease. If it's accessible, take the right hand behind the back towards the right big toe, left hand towards the outside of the left foot, and then Ashtanga as we exhale, chin to shin, looking towards the left big toe. 1. If this is not accessible, you have pain in either the knee or the ankle, you can bring the ankle towards the thigh, just above the knee, and work with this figure 4 position, gently opening through the knee, pressing in. So we're feeling that stretch in the right glute. You can work with folding forward here, or you can just stay lifted. 3, okay, really gentle here, not working through pain. You should just be feeling a nice stretch. 4, soft activation of the left quadricep to help release the hamstring. And 5, now I inhale, head up, look forward. Exhale here fully. And then Dasha as we inhale. Bring the knee to center and release. Shake them out. Okay, Chaturanga, other side. Left leg draws in, opening up in that external rotation of the hip joint as we bring the knee more towards center. Taking a hold of the foot only if it's accessible. Taking a hold of the right foot if that's only accessible. And then Panchadasha, exhale, chin to shin as we fold forward. 1. Keeping that awareness to the bandhas as we move forward from the hip flexors. 2. Keep that right shoulder drawn down and away from the ear. 3. Elbow is bent as we work with using the strength of the arm to help us come forward. 4. Left knee draws towards the midline as we open up through the gluteals and the rotator muscles. And 5. Shoulder shut, inhale, head up, lengthen the spine, lift the chest. Exhale here fully. And then Sapta Dasha, inhale, release. Cross at the shins and take a little lift from the hips. Okay, just to neutralize again. Moving into Triangmukha Ekapada Pashimotanasana. So Sapta, as we inhale, draw the right knee in towards the chest and then bring the heel to the outside of the hip. Knees ultimately together but no wider than hips distance apart. Taking a hold of the left foot as we inhale. And then as we exhale, now chin towards shin as we fold. 1. If the knee feels pain or in the ankle, you can keep the leg extended out in front. 2. If that right sit bone is lifted, you can always use your left hand as a counterbalance to help you stay supported or place something underneath your right sit bone. 4. When we take a hold of the left foot, take whichever bind feels most comfortable, so you can use a strap or begin to take a hold of the sides of the foot or interlace the index finger and thumb around the wrist. 5. Now I inhale, head up, look forward, lift the chest, lift the gaze. Exhale fully. Dasha, inhale, come back to center. Bring the knee back to center. And exhale to release. Chaturanga, other side. So inhale, left knee in, heel to the outside of the hip. Knees working towards each other, taking a hold of the right foot. And Ashtanga, exhale as we fold, chin towards shin. Looking again, Bandha and Dristi, looking towards the right big toe. 1. Quadriceps slightly active. 2. This should feel like a nice stretch in the back of the right leg. 3. Hopefully feeling it in the top of the left leg as well as we work with opening into an internal rotation of the hip joint. 4. Steadying your breath, keeping that low belly drawn in. And 5, shoulder shut, inhale, head up, look forward. Exhale. And then Saptadasha, inhale, bring the knee to center and release. Janusasana A. Sapta, inhale the right knee in towards the chest, opening it out to the side sole of the foot towards the inner thigh. You can always place a block underneath that right knee if you need to, taking a hold of the left foot. And then Ashtanga as we exhale, chin towards shin, Bandha and Dristi, looking towards the big toe. 1. Opening up through that hip joint as the knee draws down towards the earth. 2. Still stretching the back of the left leg with a soft activation of the quadricep. 3. Try to ensure that both sit bones are nice and grounded into the floor. 4. Shoulders draw down the back and away from the ears. Avoid rounding through the upper and middle back. And 5. Now our inhale, head up, look forward. Exhale. And then Dasha as we inhale, bring the knee to center. And exhale to release. Chaturanga, other side. Inhale the left knee in, opening out the side sole of the foot towards the inner thigh, taking a hold of the right foot with whichever bind feels most good to you. And then Panchadasha, exhale, chin to shin, lengthening through the back. 1. Steady your breathing. 2. As best you can, try to get the inhales to match the exhales. 3. Soft bend in the elbows, using the strength of the arms to draw your toes towards you. 4. Deepening the stretch in the back of the right leg. And 5. Shoulder shy, inhale, head up. Exhale. Saptadasha, inhale, come all the way back up, bring the knee to center, and exhale to release. Marichyasana A, just taking a little hip lift in between. Obviously we're not taking the vinyasas, but it's good just to neutralize yourself, so just taking a little hip lift. And exhale to release. So moving into Marichyasana A. Sapta, as we inhale, bring the right knee in towards the chest. So I don't know if you can see me quite on that camera. You're going to bring the foot in line with the hip joint. So a little bit of space, about a fist distance of space between the foot and the thigh. And then from here, you're going to begin to hinge forward from the waist, internal rotation of that right shoulder. So try to bring the armpit as high up towards the shin as you can, as you reach that hand back behind you with the thumb facing down, reach it back. And then from here, you can begin to bring the left hand back, interlacing the index finger and the thumb or grasping the fingertips. And then as we exhale, Ashtanga, chin towards shin as we fold forward, looking again, Bandha and Dristi, looking towards the left big toe. 1. Drawing that right knee in towards the top of the arm. 2. Pressing down through the right foot as we hinge forward from the hips. 3. It's okay if that right sit bone begins to lift up, but try to avoid leaning to the side. 4. Pressing the back of the right arm in towards the shin. And 5. Now our inhale, head up. Exhale. And then Dasha, as we inhale, release the bind, release the foot. Exhale fully. And then Chaturanga, inhale, other side, left knee in. So you only have an inhale to prepare in the Ashtanga series. Hinging forward, rotate the arm so the thumb faces down. Make sure the movement happens from the shoulder. Reach the left hand back behind you. And then maybe reach the right hand back behind you. And then Panchadasha, exhale, chin to shin, looking towards the right big toe. 1. Pressing the left thigh in towards the back of the arm. 2. Grounding down through the left foot. 3. Drawing the palms of the hands away from you to really lengthen through the arms. 4. If you have any pains or any injuries to the rotator cuff muscles, feel free to just bring your hands wide or take a hold of the leg instead. 4. Soft activation of the right quadricep as we release the hamstring. And 5. Shoulder shut, inhale, head up, lengthen. Exhale fully. And then Saptadasha, release the bind, release the leg. Okay, Marichyasana C. This is quite an advanced twist and I'm going to be offering up the full expression to start with. Make sure you move gently, especially if you've had any injuries to the shoulder, rotator cuff muscles, if you have any SI joint pain or lower back injuries especially. Make sure you move super gently here and modify as needed. So Sapta, as we inhale, again, bring the foot in towards the same position we just did, heel in line with the hip, about a fist distance of space between the foot and the thigh. Bring the right hand to the outside of the right hip, left hand towards the right knee, or bring the outer edge of the armpit towards the outer edge of the right knee, drawing the knee in towards the midline. Again, internally rotating from the left arm, from the left shoulder. Reach the hand back behind you as you begin to bind. So reaching the fingertips back, maybe beginning to reach back with the right hand. Looking out over the right shoulder, Pashimotanasana Dristi. 1, left leg is nice and engaged, toes flexed. 2, remember to modify, so just taking the hand towards the knee is fine, or even hooking the outer edge of the elbow towards the outer edge of the knee. 3, 4, steadying your breath, keep the low belly drawn in, allow the movement to happen from the middle spine, from around the rib cage. And 5, Ashtanga, inhale, look to center, release the bind and extend that leg out in front. And then Dwardasana, other side. So remember to modify again as needed. Left foot in, heel in line with the hip. So left hand to the outside of the hip, right hand towards the knee, outer edge of the elbow towards the outer edge of the knee, or drawing the armpit towards the top of the knee. Internal rotation of the shoulder joint as we reach that right hand back. Try to get the shoulder as close to the knee as you can. Pashimotanasana Dristi, looking over towards the left. 1, drawing that left knee in towards the midline, getting a nice stretch to the outer edge of the thigh. 2, any runners, cyclists, or joggers, or people who walk a lot, this may feel like a lovely stretch to the outside of the left thigh, but make sure you're not feeling any pain in the outer edge of the left knee. 4, right leg stays nice and active, quadriceps engaged. And 5, Dwardasana. Release, inhale, back to center. Just taking cross legs position, lifting up the hips. Exhale, Navasana, boat pose. So we're going to take 3 rounds of boat. Traditionally, there would be 5 rounds. If you wanted to take 5, you can take 5. Just if you wanted to. Sapta, as we inhale, bring the legs up towards the ceiling, bringing them towards straight, toes pointed, arms alongside the body, palms face up. 1, Dristi, Padayora Dristi, looking towards the toes. 2, if the legs can't reach straight, just bring them to bent towards 90 degrees. 3, you can even take a hold of the back of the thighs if you find that when you begin to lift, you round through the upper back. 4, try to keep the chest nice and lifted, shoulders away from the ears. And 5, Ashtanga, cross at the shins, pick up the hips. Sapta again. 1, looking towards the toes. 2, nice and tall through the crown of the head. 3, nice and long through the spine, try to avoid rounding. 4, keep the low belly drawn in. And 5, Ashtanga, cross at the shins, pick up the hips. And exhale, last round, Sapta. 1, keeping the bandhas nice and active. 2, palms face up, fingers together. 3, steadying your breath, breathing deep into the rib cage. 4, last push. And 5, Ashtanga, cross at the shins, inhale, pick up the hips. And exhale to release down, extending the legs in front. We're going to take a back bend now. So we're going to take either 2 rounds of Setu Bandhasana or a modified version of Setu Bandhasana, and then one round of that, and then 1 round of Urdhva Danurasana, upward facing bow. So if you're not sure where you're going, just make sure that you watch me first and don't move your neck too much from side to side, or don't move your neck at all from side to side, and just take it gently, okay? Because it's a back bend. So coming to lay down on the back, bring the heels in towards the sit bones, toes in slightly, ankles, knees, hips, all in line with each other, so avoid them rolling out to the side or avoid drawing them in towards each other. Bring the palms of the hands down, thumbs coming in towards the sit bones, shoulders away from the ears. This is Sapta. And then Ashtanga is to prepare, heels in, toes in slightly. Nawa, inhale, draw the tailbone towards the backs of the heels as we lift the hips up towards the ceiling. You can stay here or interlace the fingers behind the back, rolling onto the top of the shoulders to get the chest expansion. Drawing the chest towards the chin and the chin away from the chest. 1, make sure the knees don't fall out to the sides. 2, establish your foundations within your feet, grounding down. 4, lifting the inner arches of the feet as the tailbone reaches towards the heels. And 5, Dasha, release the bind if you had it, and very gently roll down. So you can come into that again if that felt like quite an intense frontline opener for you. If you wanted to try Urdhva Danurasana, upward bow, remember to modify as needed. So for upward bow, you can bring the feet very, very tiny bit wider. Try to avoid coming any wider than shoulder distance apart. You can keep the feet in the same position, in towards the heels, and then bring the palms of the hands by the shoulders, fingers pointing towards the toes. As best you can, get the elbows to draw up towards the ceiling, keeping the shoulders away from the ears. So this is Ashtanga. Now, as we inhale, lift up from the hips. Come on first to the crown of the head, check your alignment. Make sure the knees aren't falling out to the side, make sure the elbows are still facing up. And then lift up, extend towards straight, pressing through the heels, bringing the arms towards straight. 1, 2, bringing the chest through the arms. 3, pressing into the heels. 4, and 5, Dasha, chin to chest, very gently roll down. And then try to avoid crunching into a ball, but draw the knees very loosely in towards the chest, take a hold of the back of the thighs or the shins. Try to keep the entire length of the spine grounded into the mat. Apanasana, you can begin to bring some small circles with the knees. The traditional counter posture for Urdhva Danurasana is Pashimotanasana, seated forward fold. So if you wanted to take that instead, feel free. I just quite like this as a gentle release. And it's good to take note of where you're feeling the stretch, and you don't want to be feeling any pain or strain. So what's common in Urdhva Danurasana is to feel tension in your lower back, and what that's an indication of is overextending in the lower spine. And what that means is that you probably have got quite tight front of the body, so maybe abdominals and hip flexors. This could be an indication that you need to open these to help relieve that strain, because that's over time, that's going to hurt, and you don't want to push it. You may find that you feel you have strain in the triceps, chest, as I said, abdominals and hip flexors. These are all going to be opening in your back bends. Okay, going to prepare now for our inversion. So if you need to spend a little bit more time, you can spend a little bit more time here. Otherwise, we're working into Shalamba Sarvangasana. So extend the legs out long. Bring the arms alongside the body, palms face down. This is Sapta. And then Ashtanga, as we inhale, first option is to bring the knees to the forehead first, and then bring the hands towards the lower back, and then find a position that's comfortable for your legs. Again, make sure you watch me first if you're not sure where you're going. The second option, if you're relatively confident with shoulder stands, palms face down, Ashtanga. Bring the legs straight up towards the ceiling, bringing the hands to the lower back, fingers facing towards the glutes. Gently, over time, bringing the hands more towards the shoulders. 1, we're holding here for around 10 breaths. 2, toes point, bringing the hips over the shoulders. 3, grounding down through the backs of the arms and the back of the head. 4, this nice strong foundation will help relieve any strain on the neck. 5, try to keep the feet together if you can. 6, steadying your breath, keeping the bandhas nice and active. 7, this is our closing sequence, beginning to focus more on the breathing. 8, 9, keeping the elbows drawn in, no wider than shoulder distance apart. And 10, now our halasana. Gently draw the knees behind the head, feet towards the floor, knees extended. If the feet reach the floor, the toes reach the floor, you can interlace the fingers behind the back, grounding down through the backs of the arms as we press the hands into the floor. If the toes don't reach the back, then just keep the hands on the lower back for support. Sorry, if the feet don't reach the floor, keep the hands on the lower back for support. 1, hips over the shoulders. 2, if the toes reach the floor, try to come onto the tops of the feet, extending them away from you so the hips come over the shoulders. 4, grounding down through the backs of the shoulders and the back of the head to help release the neck. 5, steadying your breath, keeping the bandhas nice and active. 6, and although this is a flexion of the spine, try to imagine that you're lifting your sit bones up towards the ceiling and lengthening the back. And 8, Karna Pidasana, ear pressure pose. Bring the knees towards the ears, toes and heels together towards the floor behind you. 1. Fingers can stay interlaced, or you can bring your hands to your lower back. 2. 3. 4. There should be no strain in the neck. 5. 6. 7. And 8. Now bring the knees back to the forehead, release the arms alongside the body, palms face down to act as brakes. As gently as you can roll down, bring the thumbs underneath the sit bones, preparing for Marichyasana. So toes pointed, lengthening through the legs. As we inhale, lift the chest, lift the gaze, look up, shoulders away from the ears. And then as we exhale, the crown of the head releases behind you. It may or may not reach the floor. 1, if this is painful in the neck, just make sure you come to lay down on the back. 2, there should be no strain in the shoulders. 3, this should feel like a lovely opening along the front side of the throat. 4, we've just had it in flexion. Now we're countering that by putting it into an extension. 5, keeping the bandhas active, breathing into the rib cage. 6, 7, and 8. Exhale, chin to chest, look forward. Release the thumbs from underneath you and gently lay back down. Okay, our last posture we're coming into is Padmasana, or Bada Padmasana, or Urdhva Padmasana. So you can either press to the right hand side and lift up to a seat, or you can roll along the length of the spine, cross at the shins and just come back to a seat. So depending on the flexibility of the hip joint, we may come into Bada Padmasana, bound lotus, or maybe just Sukhasana where we are, cross legs position is fine. If you wanted to come into Bada Padmasana, again, work with closing that knee joint first, then external rotation of the hip joint, and then bring the foot towards the hip crease. From there, you'll do the same on the other side. Okay? But you don't want to be feeling any pain in the knees or the ankles. So if that's painful, don't take it. Working towards the bind, you can take opposite hand to opposite elbow behind you, or maybe you can reach towards the toes. Now, as we exhale, we fold forward from the hips, bringing the chin towards the floor, drawing the lower belly in and breathing deep. We'll be here for around 10 to 15 breaths. And I'm just going to close by taking our Ashtanga closing mantra. Swasti prajabhyaha paripalayantam nyayena margena mahim mahishaha go brahmanebhyaha shubhamastu nityam lokaha samastaha sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Gently come back up. Release the bind behind your back, release the lotus if you're in lotus, and just come to lay down on your back in Shavasana. Extend your legs out long, bringing them to the front corners of the mat. Release your arms alongside the body. Release your bandhas, release your breath. Allow your natural rhythms to return. Take a little bit of extra love here with the ankles and the wrists. If they were in the bound position, just let them roll open to the side. Allow the knees and the hips to follow. Allow the elbows to bend. Draw the shoulders down the back and away from the ears, creating a little shelf for your heart. Tip the tailbone towards the backs of the heels to help lengthen through the lower back. And if it feels good, tip the chin towards the chest to help lengthen through the cervical spine, the back of the neck. Allow the mind to clear. Any thoughts or stories, any chittavritti, the mind chatter of everyday life, allow that to pass. Allow yourself to become still, balanced. As your body processes the work you've done, as you move into a state of rest and digest, and the mind allows you to rest peacefully. Shavasana. I recommend you stay here for as long as you have the time for today. As you go forward, I wish you peace in your thoughts, peace in your words, peace in your heart. Namaste.